Angels were created by God before this planet came into existence. The Seraphim were created with 6 wings, the cherubim with 4 faces, and then the living creatures, the archangels, and the other angels. In this episode, we'll talk about the seraphims with 6 wings. The seraphim are mentioned only twice in the Bible. The prophet Isaiah describes the form of the seraphim. He writes, "In the year that the king Uzziah died, I saw also the Lord sit upon a throne, high and lifted up, and his train, the skirt of his robe, filled the temple. Above it stood the seraphim, each one had 6 wings. With twain he covered his face, with twain he covered his feet, and with twain he did fly." Isaiah chapter 6, verse 1 and 2. These angels were hiding their faces with 2 wings. They could not look at God's glory. 2 covered their feet, recognizing the subservience to the Almighty, and 2 other wings to fly, taking care of God's business. The fact they are called seraphims in plural means there are many of them. We aren't given an exact number, but we know they stand over the throne of God. In chapter 6 and verse 3, Isaiah writes, "One seraphim cried unto another and said, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts, the whole earth is full of his glory." As described, these angels with wings covering their eyes continually cried out and worshiped the Almighty. In the following verse, Isaiah 6:4, he also writes, "And the posts of the door moved at the voice of him that cried, and the house was filled with smoke." When Isaiah witnesses this event, he was so frightened that he exclaimed, "Woe is me, for I am undone, because I am a man of unclean lips, and I dwell in the midst of a people of unclean lips. For mine eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts." Isaiah 6:5. After this, one of the seraphim flew to him, having a live coal in his hand, which he had taken with the tongs from off the altar, laid it up on my mouth, and said, "Look, this hath touched thy lips, and thine iniquity is taken away, and thy sin purged." Isaiah 6:6 and 7. These events tell us something else about these angels. In addition to their wings, they have hands. However, it is important to warn that the angels do not have the authority to forgive sins. The seraphim was speaking on God's behalf. In addition to not having authority to forgive sins, angels should not be worshipped. Only God must be worshipped. When John had a vision, he made the following statement, "I fell down to worship before the feet of the angel who showed me these things." But the angel said to John, "Don't do that. I'm a servant just like you and your brothers and sisters, the prophets, and those who keep the words of this book. Worship God." Revelation 22:9. In the Bible, among the books of Genesis and Apocalypse, we see many acts of angelic actions, in many circumstances. An example are the angels who visited Abraham and Sarah at the time when Sarah was told that she would have a son, Isaac. But it's just one of several examples we could use here. The main idea of this series is to show through biblical studies and experience how the angelic beings of God work, the work they have performed in the past and nowadays, their hierarchies, their forms and powers. We will also talk about demons, the fallen angels and how they work, their influences and more.